Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. One of my favorite days of the year, actually. I have this ritual that I do every year where I read and or listen to the I Have a Dream speech. I do it on the anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech in August too. But today I chose to read it this morning at breakfast so that I could be more thoughtful. I knew I was going to talk about it today, and if anybody thought I was going to talk about something else, you haven't read my mini ebook on building belonging. And the quote that struck me the most this time is one that doesn't get pulled out very often, but is incredibly fitting and lines with the spiral pretty good. Dr. King said, "We have also come to his hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now." I'm gonna pause for a second because I need to remind everybody that this speech was written in 1963, which was before I was born. Before I was born. Let that sink in. Look at my gray hair and let that sink in. The fierce urgency of now. He goes on to say, "This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism." The tranquilizing drug of gradualism. We've been addicted to that for a long time as a society, the tranquilizing drug of gradualism, and not really feeling the fierce urgency of now. And that tranquilizing drug of gradualism is what I want to talk about the most, because it is ignorance and ignoring. Ignorance and ignoring of white privilege, ignorance and ignoring of white supremacists in position of power, ignorance and ignoring of racist systems and racist institutions. That ignorance has led us to be addicted to the tranquilizing drug of gradualism and losing our sense of urgency. It is making excuses of why we don't engage, why we stand on the sidelines, doesn't affect us, why should I get involved, right? And I'm speaking very much to my fellow white people. That excuse is worn out. The tranquilizing drug of gradualism has led us to blaming the oppressed for being oppressed instead of addressing the oppressor, right? And my charge to you this week is to flip the spiral and stop ignoring, stop making excuses, and stop blaming. And let's get out of this fog that is perpetuated by this tranquilizing drug of gradualism. And let's consider our options. Let's consider the things that we can do and the actions that we can take. And we need to look at that from the position of being an individual. What can I do? The position of our families and our friends and our groups of friends, what we can do as a workplace, as a place of worship, as a community, as a state, as a nation, as a society, right? We need to consider. There's a lot of options out there, and I'm going to share quite a few with you here in just a second. And then we need to take responsibility to act on those things. So let's do this. Let's talk about what we want to take responsibility for. I want you to take responsibility for two things. I want you to learn. We need to learn. Here's how you learn. Just Google racist systems, and millions of hits will come up in half a second. Pick something off the front page and read it. Just read something about this to learn, right? Read Dr. King's speech, read other things that he's written. It's still true today. That's the problem, right? Read some books. I can suggest several. One, Dr. Ibram Kendi wrote a book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. Gives you lots of things you can do in there. A new author that I'm really excited about and have read both of her books already is Dr. Janice Gassam. Read her stuff, Dirty Diversity and The Pink Elephant, especially if you're in a workplace. Watch Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, Emmanuel Acho. Real short little hits, won't take you much time, right? Listen to a podcast. I suggest NPR's Code Switching. It's a great podcast, right? And it's entertaining. I mean, it's engaging. Check out some websites. Just do a little research today. That's all you got to do. Just go out there and learn something new, right? And then I want you to act by leading. Like lead conversations. Lead conversations about what you just learned. Lead conversations about Dr. King's speech, right? Lead conversations in your home with your children and your family, and lead conversations in your work environment with your team, with your coworkers, right? With your bosses. Lead conversations in your places of worship. Lead conversations with your groups of friends. Act. Take responsibility, and let's start pursuing solutions, because the fierce urgency of now is very, very real, and we need to get off this drug, this tranquilizing drug of gradualism, and take some action and make some things happen. So that's my charge today. That's my energy today. That is what's behind me today. Let's do this. Peace.